Okay, Reggie, I want to get your thoughts on this. I think we touched on it briefly, but I think it changed last week. So, Drake changed his lawsuit, or he, adjusted it, or whatever the case may be, against UMG, and now he's claiming defamation. I wanted to get your thoughts from somebody who is in the industry, what you thought about this, and do you think he has a case or he doesn't have a case? And ultimately, what do you think he's wanting to get out of this?
Well, it's making Dre look weak. It's making your hero, John. John, y'all keep telling y'all, John, I tap at him all the time. John loves Drake, y'all. John, he loves Drake music. Drake was winning. Who reigned on top of hip hop longer than Drake? I can give Drake at least 10 years. We love Tupac over here, right? I love Tupac and Snoop. Ice Cube, I always tell y'all that's probably my favorite after, Tupac's album, All Eyes on Me, but as a overall artist is Snoop and Ice Cube, right? They never reigned no 10 years, being on top of the game. They never were the man for 10 years. Drake was. Drake could honestly say he was on top of the music, the rap game, for over 10 years. Okay. So we get it that Drake was the man. Drake, some would say right now he's unseated, right? He was made look bad, but I know we are for forgiving society. So I think the only thing it takes for Drake to do is to have a hit. One more hit and he'll be back, because we forgive real quick. I think it really makes Drake look weak. I don't know if I said that earlier, but I'll say it again if I didn't. This makes Drake look weak. It makes I'm sorry, white guys, it makes the white side of him come out, running to the law, running to file lawsuits and all of that. Now Drake defense, he will be like, hey, I'm just trying to do it so nobody else can do it. So music companies can stop doing this. Because we let them. And so if I was his guy, if I was with Drake, I'd be like, this is the agenda we need to be pushing. The record companies, the white Jewish men are making us go at each other and attack each other and making, not 80% on the dollar, and we're only making 20% on the dollar. And they calling this confusion. That's how I would be spending it if I was Drake. But it just make him look weak because he has done it. He has dissed and attacked people that on the same label as him. And so now that you seem to be on the opposite side of taking the L and you're not winning it like you did, for the other 10 years, now you want to blame the distributors? Because that's all not label mates. Label mates is what Snoop and Tupac were. Ja Rule and Ashanti or the little boy that used to be over there with the deep voice. They were label mates. Lloyd. Those are what you call label mates. Das and Corrupt with Lady of Rage or stuff like that.
Reggie, ever since this Diddy story broke and we've been covering it ongoing, it reminds me how important it is to have a good lawyer on your team. An injury could bring you millions and change your life forever, but you have to have the right team on your side. That's why I'm proud to present Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. They have over 1,000 attorneys working in all 50 states, so when you're seriously injured, your injury could be worth millions. Morgan & Morgan don't just settle for the lowball offers. They fight for every dollar you deserve if you become their client. They just recently achieved some significant verdicts for their clients. $12 million in Florida, which is 34 times the highest insurance offer, and $26 million in Philadelphia, which was 40 times the highest insurance offer. With Morgan & Morgan, there's no upfront cost, and the fee is actually free unless you win. It only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case, and you can do so from the comfort of your home. If you've ever been seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you're only a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. It's easy to start your claim now. You can go to forthepeople.com/bomb or scan the QR code in the corner with your phone's camera.
That's label mates. These were distributors. These are distributors. And so Kendrick label mate is Schoolboy Q and people like that. Drake label mate is actually, I don't know what it is currently, but was actually my girl, Nicki. Because they all were signed to Lil Wayne, Young Money. So that's what label mates is. We're going to start blaming the distributors for stuff. He has no leg to stand on. I know you got some more deep history on it, John, where you was telling me about, well, they did this to knock off his record, and then they uploaded it. If you can explain that part you was explaining to me about, John.
Okay. He set up a website called 100 Gigs, where he was just dumping like a bunch of video footage and then some songs and stuff. And it appears like they took those songs, his distributor took those songs and put them on Spotify and put them on Apple Music. But I don't think they checked them for samples because some of the songs went up and then they had to pull them down later. But I don't know that as fact. It just seems like that's what they did because they were on the website that he set up for a good 4 or 5 days before they made it onto streaming. So, but I was just speculating that, it looked like they were like, you're signed under us. Any music that you have that you put out needs to be put out through us, so that they either grabbed it and uploaded it or they asked him to turn it over so they could upload it. But yes. But what I wanted to get your thought on is like during the Death Row Bad Boy stuff, there were different distributors in that case, but I know 50 Cent did an interview, and he basically, said, I don't understand where Drake's going with this because, Interscope had, the same person in Interscope was telling radio stations to play the G Unit record, but they were also the same person at that label was telling radio stations to play The Game when he was doing the whole G Not thing. And so he was like, labels or distributors do that. Just because they're there to promote their artists, regardless of what they're saying. Would you agree with that?
And that's to my point. What I was trying to say when I was saying how, even though you maybe not be label mates or you are label mates, then you pushing that agenda. They do it for both sides, and they have always done it. And so that's my point. Is what Ilma was saying is they have always done that, and so. Just because you the distributor or Interscope, which is they not UMG, they not Universal Music Group, but they're not G Unit, they're not Young Money or whatever the Game label was. They're not those labels, so they're not going to police that. I could see if you had Tupac and Snoop going at it, who were both Death Row, or the Dog Pound and Tupac going at it, then you may have a beat. But when you only have 4 or 5 distributing companies, and you're trying to say they can't go back now, what you're trying to do? Eliminate diss songs or rap beats or going back and forth with each other? You just can't have it. So only UMG guys can go out there. Guys that sign over there, Jive Records or BMG or whatever, is that what he's trying to say that only can happen? I honestly believe Drake ultimate goal, and I think that was mainly your question is what is he trying to achieve, is he done saw in the golf game how somebody over there in another country, these Saudi Arabians or the guys in Dubai or whatever, is putting money behind, people. Is somebody in Drake's ear that's telling him, I can give you more than $400 million. Be like Liv, be like the tennis company or all of these companies where all these people are putting money behind them. Because if you alienate UMG and you alienate BMG and what's the other ones? I know it's four majors, Capital or all of them. Where are you going to go? Now some would say, yeah, well Drake is big enough to to put out stuff and people going to buy it just because of Drake's name. That works a little bit, to be honest. E40 did it for a long time. E40 was independent for a long time. And we knew what E40 would do. But when did we really start knowing E40? When did E40 really start making their money and stuff like that? Is when he signed with Warner Brothers and went with Lil Jon. When he signed to Lil Jon, that's when E40 name really got out there. And so I know some of y'all debated, and especially because this is mostly people on the West Coast will be like, I knew E40 way back in the 90s and all of that. Yeah. But we keeping it real. And E40 is one of my top 5 favorite actors. I'm sorry, rappers. But E40 wasn't known like Tupac and Snoop and Too Short and Ice Cube and all them were, because he wasn't, or DMX, my people on the East Coast, LL, Cool J and all of them, because they wasn't signed to a major. Because he wasn't signed to a major and he didn't have the exposure that they were getting. He was mainly regional. Another person, I'll give you an example of is people on the East Coast. Y'all might know it now, but in the 90s, man, I used to love the hell out of Sugar Free. But guess what? Only us on the West Coast knew Sugar Free. Nobody in the South or the East knew Sugar Free back in the 90s. You may have a few, 3% of y'all or whatever, but trust me, y'all didn't know Sugar Free like that. And so that would be my only thing to why I really believe Drake need to stick with the majors. But in my opinion, it was a weak move on Drake. He needed to just take this L, get in the lab, write him a hit, and come back. But you know how all this shit could get rectified, y'all? And I told y'all when they first announced that Kendrick was doing the Super Bowl, if I was Steve Berman, who's the head of UMG right now, or part of Interscope, and the UMG Records, if I was Steve Berman, I'll get those two niggas together. Be like, y'all gonna squash this shit. And that motherfucker, I will somehow have Drake smuggled in that motherfucking Super Bowl. And he'll be up there shaking his head while Kendrick is performing They Ain't Like Us. And then he will come up with a hot disc song, and Kendrick will be sitting right there taking it like a man. And how big would that be? If Kendrick actually performed that song right in front of Drake, and Drake came out with a song performing right back on the stage of the Super Bowl. Now, I know everybody know. I know you already said, it can't happen. It can't happen. Drake is performing in Australia that day. Australia. All right. You tell me who y'all gonna watch, the Super Bowl or Drake concert in Australia. I know y'all are. Y'all gonna watch Drake, I know. Peace.